Miss Lauren Oak, hello.
Hello, Natalie Diaz.
Why, we have an interesting podcast today, and I
When,
want to.
when don't we? When don't we have an interesting one?
Is there any episodes that I genuinely, honestly, I really do think every one of our podcasts is really interesting.
Yeah, I
There,
agree.
there was one for the record that we never published because it was a snooze fest. And no matter what I did, I couldn't pull a story out of this woman.
All right.
And
Okay. There must be
also,
a pop somewhere. There's
no,
always.
but for the record, too, the audio was really bad. So we would
Oh,
have had to put a lot of money into the episode to fix it. And I knew the content wasn't going to bring anything to our listener, watcher, readers' brains.
yeah.
But
Okay.
I will be very honest with you and tell you that we did. We also had another episode where we had to throw in the garbage because the mom changed her mind and didn't want it to be published.
Okay. All right. That's fair enough. I mean, that
No, it was so good though. Like
was a
I
good.
could remember, it was about a home birth.
Oh.
And so
Okay.
she was worried the legality in her state
Oh,
was
because
not it was
yeah,
frowned upon.
it's
So
frowned upon everywhere.
it is frowned upon everywhere, but especially in her state, it was even more dramatic. And she
He was
may or
worried.
may not have worked in medicine and may or may not
Oh, okay.
have needed
Okay.
to make better
Okay.
decisions.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So yeah, but today we are not talking to an American.
Oh.
We are talking to a twin mom Aussie.
Oh, from down under.
Literally down under, mate. Yes. Now let's go through all the Australian cliches right now. Put another
Shrimp on
shrimp
the
on the
Barbie.
barbie. There you go. That's all I got. That's it. Okay.
Crocodile Dundee.
So now that we got that out of the way, when I saw that we've talked to Australian moms before. So for the record, if you go back through our 200 plus, which I cannot even believe that we have that many episodes, if you go through our 8 million episodes, you will find that we often speak to people outside of the country. So I really want people to remember that although Twiniversity, the majority of our readers, listeners, watchers are American, there is nothing that says that that's what we do. Because there
No.
is nothing different about raising twinnies here than there is in even a third world country, to be very
Yeah.
honest with you. It doesn't matter. It may be the stuff that's different. It may be the care that's different. And maybe the opportunities that are different. But you still have the same issues in pregnancy. You still
Yep.
have the same issues with breastfeeding. We still have
Yep.
the same issues with delivery. We still have the same issues of sibling rivalry. Like there's just things that are common ground. And it's the one thread that connects our whole globe is our twinness.
Yep.
So when I had this opportunity to speak to Sinead, who is like a big time social media person, and the way that she positions her stories is making sure that people understand that twinnies can be a positive experience instead of the double trouble. I don't know how you're going to do it. Better you than me, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, shut up, right? So she has decided to use her experience as a twin mom to paint a realistically positive picture of what's going on with her kiddos' lives and her raising them. It's fascinating and it's great, and you're gonna absolutely love it. So when we were deciding, because if you guys don't know, I don't always know what the topic is going to be when I even press play.
Oh,
I
really?
don't. Yeah, because look, I have had this has happened quite a few times now that I think we're going to have a conversation about one thing, and then during the conversation I discover a little bit of wisdom that I then have to extract for the betterment of our community.
Okay. Okay.
So this was one of them. And so we could have talked about positive parenting and putting your kids on social. Like there's so many things
Yeah.
that could have easily been seen, but I opted, because I know a lot about global births, I opted to have a discussion about what delivery and pregnancy and maternal health looked like in a country that was literally globally opposite of ours.
Okay. And I bet it's different, definitely.
You will never believe it. You will never believe it. And when after taping this episode, Lauren, I have never ever had a conversation with my husband that I have ever said, maybe we really genuinely need to move to another country.
Oh,
Lauren, I swear on my kids, I am not even joking you. Because what this episode made me realize is that we are so far behind in taking care of
oh
our
yeah.
moms.
Oh,
Okay,
absolutely.
now put that away. Okay, just take that, put that in the back of your brain. Why I'm actually even more angry is because I had my kids 20 years ago
Yep.
and nothing has changed.
Or if it has, it's so minuscule of a change.
It's barely enough of a change. So what? You covered a breast pump? Like
Yeah.
that's what you gave us. You don't
Yeah.
give us any maternal leave. We get
No.
no time off. You
Support.
granted us 12 weeks of leave without pay so that
Yep.
our job was held. In comparison to other developed
Oh,
nations,
I know.
we are an embarrassment when it
I
comes to, and once again with the hate mail, please don't tell me how we're winning in this country. Yes, we are winning in certain ways in this
yes.
country. There are definitely things that make our country superior to other nations. However, maternal health care is not one of them.
Nope. I agree. I totally agree.
And so Lauren and I have a very unique perspective because we work in birth. We're birth workers. That's technically what, but the world doesn't have a label for that. They don't even know what to call us. Right.
No.
So, like you being a birth doula and a postpartum doula, there's still people that would believe that you're showing up to a hospital with sage and crystals.
Yeah. Yeah. And well, some people do, but they do. They do.
They ruin it for everybody else. But for you and I, in the
Yes.
fields that we work, it's very functional, clinical
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to me that in other countries, our industry is a very highly regarded industry because we take care of some of the most fragile
Yeah.
citizens of
Yeah.
our world. But
Yeah.
our country does not even freaking know where to put us.
Nope.
So this conversation, truthfully, led me to have a whole talk with John about maybe we should figure out if we can move to another country just so that our daughter could have a better experience being a
Yeah.
mother.
Yeah. But you know what? With your knowledge and your resources and your friends, I think you'll be able to educate her in the different options. Like
Which
she's
is
more,
what John said.
which is she is lucky enough, and my daughters are lucky enough that they will have that built into their own system, like their support
Yes.
system. Not everybody has that.
So time out. This is what I'm
Right.
saying.
Everybody should
So
have.
the thing is like with Twiniversity, right? And everything that we do, you didn't become a birth doula for you.
No.
I didn't start a global support revolution because of me. I was
Yeah.
done needing support.
Yeah.
It's the other people. And so do you
But
want
that's the
to?
type of people we are. Not
Yeah, but
everybody.
Lauren, I'm paying 40% freaking taxes to a country that's not going to acknowledge my daughter.
Oh, it's ridiculous. I know. I'm in agreement with that.
So I'm furious about this. And the thing is you won't hear my fury in the episode, but I have never had an episode that was more thought provoking for my life after taping something.
Wow.
So I don't know if this is going to be the first episode of the season or not because I feel that this is going to alienate people because I'm so upset about it.
Yeah.
But I
No,
don't know why anybody would be upset because I just want something better for them. I don't want them to have the same thing that we had.
yeah.
I don't want there to be a fight for lactation. I don't want there to be a fight for mental health support. Like
No,
that's crazy town that
it
these are
is.
all things that fall on brand new moms.
And that's the reality here. And it's really sad.
It makes me I'm really it's something else. So literally buckle freaking up because when you hear how her experience was different, you'll be
Yeah.
like, that makes sense. And for
Yeah.
the record, it's not over the top like some countries. Australia is not ranking at the tippy top for maternal
Yeah.
health care, but they're up there. But I mean, don't even go Google a list. Go Google a list. Everybody listening, before you say anything to me, go Google to see where we are and understand that odds are I'm not leaving the country, right? Because where am I going to go? This is like everything. But there's a piece of me that's like, my poor girl, my
Yep.
poor girl. And I want her to have the experiences like Sinead had, or other
Yep.
moms that I've spoken to, even in the UK. Like, in the UK, you get a year off. And when you have twins, you get two.
Oh my
You
God.
get 2 years off at this current time that we're
I
taping
can't,
this episode. So,
I
of
can't.
course, this could change in 27 seconds, but it could also change for us in 27 seconds. But that's not happening
No, it's
with the
not.
way that, honestly, with like just whatever. Honestly, I'm just really frustrated, and I want something better for not only my daughter, but for your daughters and for their daughters and their
Yep.
daughters. But
Yep.
nothing has changed in 20 years. We've literally stood freaking still. And this whole discussion with Sinead was just crazy town. Are you ready to get mad and happy and angry and
Sure.
laugh? But then at the end of the day, have a whole moment where you question your existence? Because that's
Yes,
what this is.
absolutely. I
Okay,
love it.
good. All right, well, here we go. Here's Sinead. Today, we are going to learn how the other side of the world has babies, right? As Americans, we are, we definitely have a lot of pride in our country, but I know when it comes to maternal care, we are lacking. I don't want to call us an embarrassment to the world, but I will say that we are an embarrassment for a fully developed country that is a major economic force in this world. We worry so much about that we sometimes forget that the only reason why you have neighbors is because we have mothers. And we need one with, like, there's no way that we could continue as a population without moms. So far to date, as we're taping this, we have not figured out the embryonic pod situation where we're growing embryo farms. That's not a thing that's happening yet. However, sometimes I feel that our country really neglects our mamas and neglects our women. And I know that with the certifications that I have, as I was telling our guest Sinead a second ago, I know that when I am learning how to do anything, whether it is becoming an IBCLC, right, which is an international board certified lactation consultant, we are not taught on a countrywide scale. We are taught for the globe. So, any issues that people are having in Botswana, or people are having in Bolivia, or people are having on Broome Street around the corner from me, it is all the same, because anatomically, we carry our babies the same way, we get pregnant the same way, we breastfeed the same way. So, it doesn't matter where in the world we are, the system of what our body does is kind of the same. Where things differ is how our countries take care of us. And every country does it differently. And would I say that one country is winning? At the time of this taping, I would not say that any country is winning, but every country wins a little bit for certain things. If we could create kind of like a UN of maternal care where we're like, I'll take this from Sweden, I'll take this from Israel, I'll take this from the United States, I'll take this from Australia, we would definitely be a force to be reckoned with for women internationally. However, at this time, that's not a real thing. And I want to play that. So, what we're going to play today is called How We Have Twins in Australia, starring Sinead. Sinead, thank you for playing with us today.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be a part of it.
I'm so happy that you're here too. And it's funny because Sinead and I have already been talking for about 22 minutes, is what I literally just saw. And it's basically, am I right about what I know about having twins in Australia? So we really have, like, actually a pretty big following in Australia for Twiniversity. And I always find it fascinating. But I do want to tell you, for all the Aussies that are listening, when we're creating our social media schedule, you guys are always on my mind, because your morning is my night and your night is my morning. So when we're scheduling our social media posts, I specifically tell our Twiniversity team, well, what about my Australian moms? So
I
we're
love that.
really we're really conscious to know that Twiniversity is a global organization, right? And we are not just working with Americans, we're working with everybody. And our goal is to make sure that you guys feel connected and supported and that you never feel alone. So that is what kind of our big stance is. And I always think about mamas in other countries because it's not just Australia that we have a big following. Interestingly, we have a huge following in the Philippines. We have a very big following in South Africa. And then we have a pretty good South American following as well. So, and I always thought that like, the language barrier would be an issue when I first started. But thanks to Google Translate and everything else that's out there for the AI world, know that we are translated into over 100 languages a day, which I didn't really even think about 100 languages, but there's different types of French. There's different types of Spanish. So I just think, oh, Spanish is Spanish, but there's Spain Spanish, and then there's Puerto Rico Spanish. So there's different like dialects, I guess, of each language. So one thing that we have in common is I know my Aussie moms read English. So we're good. We're always solid there. So Sinead, thank you for joining us. Tell us a little bit about your twinnies.
Oh my gosh, my twinnies. They've just turned 22 months. They're fraternal twins. I've got a boy and a girl, which was the biggest blessing. Their names are Harper and Declan. I had them via C-section. It was a planned C-section. It all went really smoothly. They were a surprise, like most twin pregnancies are. I wasn't expecting it at all, but it was, yes, the best surprise I could have ever asked for.
Oh, they are the best surprise. Did you ever think you were going to have twins? Like, I know that we get so many people that are like, oh, I always wanted twins. Were you somebody that when you were growing up, you always wanted twinnies?
Absolutely not. I'm one of those people. This is a little bit dark, but I always felt in my gut from a young age that I'd struggled to have kids. And unfortunately, that became my reality. And I did struggle with infertility for a number of years. So to even get one baby was like, I was like, is this even going to happen? So when I was surprised with two, I think it caught me completely off guard. It caught my husband completely off guard. Like we were just like hoping for one heartbeat, to be honest. So
that's a join the club, sister. That's it. I was hoping for the one and I got the bonus set, but it's, our future is lined up for us, whether we like it or not. So fate is fate. There's nothing we could do. We can't take this train off the track. We have to just accept our reality. So I do want to talk about the differences of being pregnant in Australia versus being pregnant in the United States. And now, of course, everybody's going to have a variety of differences, right? Even for Sinead speaking about what happens in Australia, it's still going to be not the same for every Australian. Just like here in the United States, our maternity care is not the same for every American here. So tell us a little bit about the different types of medical care that are available to you in Australia.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm no expert, but we do have a public and a private system. I chose to go through the private system. So I pay a monthly fee to a health insurance provider. And then that means that there is just a few more benefits than going through the public system. But both systems, from what I hear, are really great. With private, when you get pregnant with twins or when you get pregnant at all, you can start seeing an obstetrician very early on, and you're able to see that obstetrician the entire way through, where I believe in some cases when you go through public, each appointment, the obstetrician can vary. And I guess it just depends on what you prefer. I was extremely anxious in my experience because we had a loss prior. So being able to see the one obstetrician the entire way through was very reassuring and really helped with my anxiety. He knew where I was at. I didn't have to update him every single time I went to an appointment. And as you guys would know, there are lots of appointments when you are pregnant with twins. So that was really a great benefit of the private health system for me.
Absolutely. Now, within the obstetrician's office, there are additional services that are available to you. So you were saying that there is usually a midwife team.
Yeah, so I believe my obstetrician is attached to a hospital, and within that private hospital, they had a midwife service. So I didn't personally participate by choice. I ended up getting a private midwife, but from what I understand, they provide prenatal care and do your classes where they teach you, how to breastfeed and how to do nappies and things like that. And they also have the postnatal care as well. With myself, I decided to go with a private midwife that my obstetrician recommended. He recommended both. I could do all of it if I wanted to. But we ended up going private midwife. She came to my house. She looked after my husband and I. We didn't realize how clueless we were. She She taught us how to put nappies on, which we both put the nappies on back to front. So she taught me how to collect colostrum, didn't even know about colostrum, like all of those good things. And it was just a really great platform to be able to ask those like really personal questions. She showed us videos. Well, it was up to us if we wanted to see videos of a C-section. We knew we were having a planned C-section. Well, if everything went right, which it did. So we could even watch videos on that. You could watch videos on vaginal births if you wanted to. It was really great. So we went down that route, but the hospital also had options available too.
In the US, there are some practices that do have midwives that are on staff, and there are even some hospitals that have that. But typically, most education is done like at a cost. So even if you are in a public hospital, there might not be an out-of-pocket cost for you, but they would charge your health insurance. And so there would be a cost that would kind of be extended to them. So one thing that you said that was interesting is that you were able to take advantage of both the private system and the public system. Here, it's kind of one or the other. Either you're going to go through the public system and you're going to just kind of take what they have, which interestingly, it really varies state by state for us. There are some states that their private system is a little bit more state regulated as opposed to federally regulated. So they might provide more services or even things like, safe sleep training and stuff like that. That might be a standard, but it is not a country standard. There is no standard, unfortunately, because the way that we're spread out, every state is kind of turning into each man for themselves. Yes. So I love that in Australia, you do get to partake in what your taxes are paying for, but you also get to have this opportunity that if you did want private care, that you have that. And I love that you guys seem to be much more education forward than we are. So here, it's like if you want an education, like even like with Twiniversity and the classes that we have here, it's like you have to seek it out and you have to find the specific things for you. It's not often that every doctor's like, here's a list of services, call these 15 people, and this is the person that you could go for. So I love that you had all that very customized handholding. So another thing that you didn't take advantage of, but we were both discussing that this was available, is that it almost seems that Australia is very heavy community based. And so there's a lot of programs within your public hospitals that'll be like every second Tuesday, we made up and we have a new mom circle. And this week we're going to have a discussion on baby massage. And this week we're going to talk about this. We're here. That's not a standard for us. That would be like super fancy and super awesome if everybody did that, but it's not a standard. I'm curious to know, when does the care and the prenatal care even start? Like when you're in school, do they even talk about when you have a baby? I know that's crazy, but the reason why I bring it up is because you were talking about teachers. And so thinking about like when you were in school and you had a teacher that went on maternity leave, was it always seen as like, oh, she's leaving us for a while? Like, was it an exciting thing? How did you feel when you were younger about knowing what birth was going to be like for other people? This, by the way, isn't a very country specific thing. This is a very Sinead specific. Like, what did you think that was going to be like when you were younger versus what the reality was when you had your own 20s?
That's a great question. And you're testing my memory here, but lots of teachers when I was at school did go on maternity leave. And I guess you always just expected that they would come back, but it was always an exciting time. And I guess I didn't really pay too much attention to it in school because I knew I always wanted to be a mum, but I was thinking about other things at the time. But fast forward to when it was my turn, you start thinking about the importance of like a job and your income and how that plays a role in your future decision making, and how important it is to be with a good employer, and it like kind of determines how much time you can take off. So looking back at my experiences, like when I was at school, I would definitely say those teachers were taking well over a year or two off, and then you would see them come back when you have gone through a few more grades. For me, I guess it was important for me to be able to reflect that. I saw that as a child, and I wanted at least a year off to spend with my babies at minimum. And we were able to do that. And we are lucky enough to be a country that does get some support from our government when we do go on maternity leave. So I was lucky to have 18 weeks at minimum wage covered, which was an added support for us. So I could take that additional time off to be with the babies.
I love that. And I know that there are other countries who offer a heck of a lot more.
Yes.
But there are definitely countries that offer nothing. Right.
Yes.
So not even
Yes.
a day paid. So here in the States, the majority of our companies are the ones that carry the burden or privilege, I should say, of caring for new parents financially. I think it's interesting that, and I believe that the 18 weeks for you guys is actually lower than it used to be. I feel like 20 years ago, it was much higher, but of course that's 20 years ago and a lot's happened since then. But in general, Australia's always had a better maternity leave policy. And for those of you that are saying, oh, well, what does it matter? It's 18 weeks at minimum wage. That's still covering the basic necessities of groceries. Yeah, it may not cover your McMansion and your Mercedes payment, but it's definitely going to help put food in your belly, keep the lights on a little bit more. It's better than nothing, right?
Absolutely.
So with that, knowing that the standard in your country is 18 weeks that you guys are taking off. When you finally found out that you heard that second heartbeat, did you think like, okay, I'm definitely doing more than the 18 weeks? Like you said, you knew that you wanted to take at least a year. How did that affect your job? And did you have to have a conversation with your boss to say, hey, listen, I have 18 weeks, but this is going to be my plan? How did that go? Like, how did you even start that conversation with your boss?
Yeah, I feel like in Australia, it's pretty standard for people to want a year off. Like that would be I'm not taking any official stats here, but I feel like majority of my friends, family members have taken about a year at minimum. Obviously the cost of living is rising, and I am finding that people are going back a lot sooner. I never ever was going to just take 18 weeks, if that made sense. My husband and I had been trying to get pregnant for a very long time. So we had been saving, obviously, for one baby, but we were like, we'll make it work. We will just have to cut costs. We pulled up our budgets, like looked at my husband's salary, look what it looked like without my salary, and, you know, what we could cut to make it work, as well as calculating in the minimum wage that we would receive from the government. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, the company I work for, it's a small private company, so they don't have to pay like company maternity leave, but there are a lot of companies in Australia that do. With talking to my boss, he not so long ago had become a father himself, so that was really good. Yes. They were fine. They were like, we'll hold your job for a year. Let us know at the end of that, like towards the end of the year, what you're feeling. I think I believe in Australia you can extend up to a second year as well. So he just wanted me to touch base towards the end of the year and see what my plans were going forward, if I'd like to come back or if I was planning to resign, kind of thing.
So do you think the majority of your friends and peers and family members, does everybody take that 18 weeks?
Yes.
100%.
Yes, unless, like, there's like obviously there's conditions like with salaries and stuff, but I think it's an extremely high salary where you may be ruled out on receiving it. But everyone I know has taken it. Yes.
So here in the United States, the average leave is 12 weeks and it's unpaid. Right. So that is, we get 12 weeks of unpaid, and that is a newer, it's called the Family Medical Leave Act, or the Federal Family Medical Leave Act, which the federal government had to get involved because the states weren't doing right. So they made it standard that you could take 12 weeks off without any repercussions, but you will not be paid for that time. You are not getting a penny.
I can't believe that.
I know you can't believe it, which is why I wanted to have this topic, because it seems like such a foreign thing when we had the same pregnancies. We had the same amount of children. We live in the same four walls. We drive a car with the same four wheels, yet it's just the geography that changed what's available to you and what's available to me.
Yeah, it's backwards. It is.
it has always fascinated me, and I think this obviously came to head when I was pregnant with my twinnies, but it was like you knew that you had to make a huge sacrifice. You do not get to have your cake and eat it too here in the United States. And working with the lactation clients that I have, Sinead, hold on to your underwear, because I will tell you, I have moms that sometimes go back after 7 days.
I can't.
7 days.
I feel for them so much. I can't even envision what that's like when you've got two newborn babies. Like you barely know what you're doing a week or two in.
Yeah. But depending on what your finances are,
I
if there's
know.
no
You
way.
have no choice.
Yeah. So
It's heartbreaking.
literally, for those of you that listen and that know me well, I am never at a loss for words. The way that we take care of each other here is just makes me sad. And I'm happy, but it's not lost on me that you guys have it better, because that's what it should be. It's not that you have it better. That should be the standard. I honestly know in comparison to other countries, 18 weeks is not a lot.
No.
So 18 weeks is, and you think about, you're not even back to normal in 18 weeks. It took you 40 weeks. Your body changed. Your 20s moved your organs within your body. You continuously create food for them if you choose to breastfeed, right? It's a regular thing. And that bonding time is so critical that you have in the beginning. And a lot of our families, unfortunately, they can't take it. They can't take that bonding time. They literally have to make a choice like, okay, I'm going to have these kids and I have to get back to work. But I have I have surgeons that have contracts with hospitals that need to be at an operating table within 9 days of them delivering. So if that's how we're caring for our women and our babies, like it stresses me out. So another thing that I know is different is the delivery process and the hospital stay process. So here in the United States, it is still very women centered, right? There are, yes, knock on wood, your partners are allowed to join you. But by the way, that hasn't been more than a few generations before, when it would be like the guys smoking their cigarettes in the lobby and then we're having babies and maybe they got to see us. But I love that the way that your delivery is taken care of. So kind of walk us through, when you knew that you had your planned C-section, what was the preparation process? What was the admittance process? And what role did your partner play in that process?
Absolutely. It was such a positive experience. Like when I actually reflect on it, I'm like, we had the best time, which you probably wouldn't think that after you've been cut open. But we basically were told our options from the obstetrician when we went to one of our appointments. And because he's attached to the hospital that we gave birth at, they had, I think, 2-room options. One was completely covered by private health, and the other you could pay an additional fee. It was a larger room. Your husband could stay in the room that was covered, but I believe they had like a separate, like a day bed kind of situation to sleep on. But if you paid, I think it was like $500 Australian, you could upgrade to this room. He would be in the same double bed as you. We also got an all-you-can-eat menu. So every day you could literally just order off this menu. There was like smoothies, all this amazing food. And like, yeah, I don't know if you can relate, but when I was breastfeeding, I was so hungry. Like my husband is the biggest eater ever, and I was absolutely smashing all this food. All night, all day, just, they must have been like, I must have taken over that kitchen, to be honest. So that was amazing. And so we did a 5-night stay. During that stay, you have multiple midwives that are caring for you. On the very first day, they walked me through kind of what those 5 days would look like. They talked me through breastfeeding because I was absolutely clueless, and what that would look like until my milk came in, because with the C-section there was a bit of a delay there. They helped with schedules. They helped me learn how to pump. So it was pretty seamless to organize. Basically, I just had to ring the hospital up and tell them which room I wanted, and it was dependent on availability, but that they had that kind of roughly planned, and that would most likely would get that kind of room.
Are you ready to hear about us?
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
Okay. So I'll do the conversion from math for everybody that's listening. That comes out to about a little over $300 a night is what you paid of American dollars.
Sorry, no, it was $500 the entire stay.
Sinead, I'm gonna need a minute. Okay.
No, yeah, it was the entire stay.
All right. So in our country, Okay. If you want a private room, it could cost you upwards, because I did the conversion for your dollars. It could cost upwards of 2,300 Australian dollars per night for a private room.
That's insane.
Yes.
Not covered by any
No,
insurance.
no, no, no. This is literally just like,
Out of
good luck.
pocket.
I hope you have a trust fund and
Wow.
maybe you won lotto. But yes, it could be. So that would be for us Americans that are listening, that's about $1,500. Hospitals charge anywhere from $300 to $1,500 a night. It is not per stay. And the food that we have, we would get 3 meals a day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, that would be hot, but we do not have unlimited access to nutritious food. You have unlimited access to maybe some muffins and some breads and maybe some juices, and you could definitely get teas and milks and maybe some yogurt. But if you wanted like a real like chicken breast at any time, that's not happening. Like you'd have to order ahead, and your choices would be very limited. If you went to a better hospital, you may have 5 things to choose from instead of an unlimited thing, but it is by no means, the way to go. Most people in the United States would either order food from outside, because
Yeah.
the hospital food sometimes is kind of yucky, and
Mm-hmm.
it really depends on the institution that you're delivering in. So
Yes.
that could be. And then the other thing is that not only is it a per day fee, but not only are we paying for certain things, but our insurance is covering certain things. And if we don't meet the deductible of our insurance, we're going to end up paying out of pocket too. So
Right.
even though we pay money per month, right? So let's say for me, I pay about, this is not a joke. And for those of you listening, please don't judge. I do not qualify for public health care. So I have to go private. And thanks to Obamacare, so our president a few presidents ago, they have this thing called the Affordable Health Care Act, of which for a family of 4, I pay $1,800 a month to just have medical coverage. That's just, God forbid something happens. But if something did happen, I'm still responsible for 2,300 per person of whatever it is. So it's still, it is not so cut and dried. It makes it very challenging to budget having children in this country, because although you think like, okay, here's the sticker price, it's really not the sticker price.
It really
There's
isn't.
hidden charges. This is why you guys don't know what you have, because you don't know how we're living on this side of the world.
I know. I feel like incredibly blessed. And as you said earlier, we're not the best. We're not the leading country in prenatal care or anything like, or maternity leave or anything like that. Like I watch some of those TikTok videos and it comes up and it compares all the countries, and we're like quite in the middle, to be honest. But to hear what you guys are experiencing,
Yeah.
it is
heartbreaking. We
Right.
used to, once upon a time, they used to try to give us a private room at no cost, because each baby in most hospitals, and once again, I'm speaking in generalities. So if you're listening to this and you are in Alabama or California and this is not yours, I am telling you, this is what's happening here in New York City. And I know there's plenty of people that are like, well, that's what you get for living in New York City. Kids, I'm not having a discussion of why we live. I live here because my family got off a boat in 1872 at Ellis Island, and we kind of just stayed.
Yeah.
So this is just where we ended up. We probably could have been just the same Australians if the boat from Italy just happened to be going south instead of going east. So here, this is what I'm speaking about. So if you have a different thing in your own area, please don't send me hate mail. I'm just genuinely trying to tell Sinead that it's kind of like we don't really talk about this. In general, we don't really have big discussions of like, how do you care for your people? How do you care for your twin moms? So we don't get anything special because we're having twins. We don't get, we may have to go for additional like monitoring and stuff because we have a higher risk pregnancy. We may be eligible to see certain types of doctors that maybe we wouldn't have been, but it's not because we wanted to, it's because somebody else deemed that it was important for that to happen. So we cannot opt to just have a higher level of care. Most of our insurance companies are like, you get a standard of care unless your doctor tells you different, then you could see somebody over his head.
Right.
So we don't really get to choose that. So there are, of course, some other insurance companies that you could see anybody at any time, but you would pay an excessive premium for those, like
Right.
car, like mortgage and car level payments in
Wow.
our country. Yes, it is
Wow.
very, very, very expensive.
I'm so taken back. I have one more thing to add that might send you, though. I just remembered when we did our 5 night stay, on the last night they wheeled in a candlelit dinner. That's how
There you
beautiful.
go, Sinead. Rub it in. Why don't you? But see that care and the fact that your
Yeah.
husband was included
He
in
didn't leave.
everything.
He was there
But
the
could you
entire
also
time.
talk about the sleeping situation?
Yeah. So the sleeping situation, it was really important for me because I had always heard, like with our public system, and I hear such different things now, that a lot of the times the husband does need to go home. He can't stay overnight. But there are certain programs and rooms where the husband can, and situations where the husband can stay. But that confused me. And that was a huge reason we went private, because I was like, this again, I was only thinking I was having a singleton potentially, that I wanted my husband to be able to stay with me, because it's going to be a whole unknown to me. Like, I've never had a baby before. And then when I found out I was having twins, I was like, you have to be here. Like, and obviously a lot of the forums out there, a lot of social media, it's so negative. So I was expecting the worst. Like, this is going to be horrific. I need my husband here. So that's another reason we upgraded the room, because he's a very tall human, very big human. So a day bed wasn't going to cut it for us. But it basically, I think it was 2 hospital beds together. Like, they put sheets across it. You wouldn't know it was 2 beds. They reclined, inclined, and whatnot. And it was just like, felt like we were basically, it's like a queen bed, I guess. Felt like we were just sleeping at home, I guess. So yeah,
So
it
you
was
got to all be together.
also,
And
he never
so
left. My husband and I were literally there full 5 days and nights together. He was never kicked out, anything like that. All the meals, like, I forgot to also say, we still got our standard breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then that special menu was on top of that as well. So you could have 2 breakfasts if you want, 2 lunches. So he was loving that. He didn't want to go back home.
I
Having
can't,
all his needs
when
covered.
I found that out, when
Yeah.
I first learned that that's what you guys did, I was like, what is happening? You guys,
Yeah.
because you have to think, for anybody postnatally. And so for those of you that are listening when you're pregnant, just ignore this, but remember these words. After delivery, especially if you had a C-section, right, and you weren't allowed to eat for a certain amount of time because
Yeah.
of the anesthesia that's given, you're freaking ravenous post-delivery. So,
Absolutely.
and that is, so not only do you have the timeline where you can't eat, but also most of us know, because of, depending on where your twinnies are positioned in utero, they could be kicking your stomach. So they literally are moving your organs. Like, for God's sake, like there's a time that you can't eat more than a piece of cheese, even if you wanted to, because it's not going to fit, because the babies aren't allowing it. Right. But the fact that you are genuinely taken care of. So here in the States, and for, once again, disclaimer, if your hospital is not the standard, good for you. You could rub it in with me too. But here, meals are provided almost out of obligation, not out of like, let me make sure that this family is whole by providing them with nutrition, not only for their bellies, but for their souls. Like, we're going to make like real food. Our hospitals, it's going to be like boiled string beans and like a broiled piece of chicken. There's not a lot to it. Not saying that it should be like an Uber Eats kind of, takeout experience, but at the same time, it really isn't what we would eat at home. Like, it's not going to be as good as that. Now, Sinead, riddle me this. Word on the street is that if for your postpartum period, if you had older children, they would be able to join you for the time that's there, or is that no longer a thing?
Oh, I can't speak to that 100%. I don't believe they can stay in the hospital. So I think most of the time they'll either be like, a lot of, again, with family and friends that had an older sibling, they would be staying with grandparents, and that they would take them to the hospital. They could stay for all visiting hours, but I don't believe they can stay in the room.
Okay. So
overnight.
it's you, your partner, and any babies that you would have just had.
I believe so.
Now, interesting, what Sinead told me, something that I thought was interesting about multiple births. So tell us, in Australia, what's considered a multiple birth?
Yes, I haven't fact checked if this has changed in recent times, but with the government pay, so I only got the same, when I was talking before about 18 weeks and getting the minimum wage, I only got the same as what a singleton parent would receive in Australia. they do not deem a multiple 2. They deem it from 3. So if you have twins in Australia, you're going to receive the same benefits as a singleton parent. And if you have triplets, it's only a little bit more a week. Which I know there's a lot of uproar with the twin community about this, and I hope to see some change in the near future. I just couldn't believe it. I think there's some tiny benefits we get, like your family tax benefit. I think you get like it's a little bit more, but nothing to make any difference in this
We get
economy.
a standard tax deduction per child.
Yes.
So with twinnies, we'd get double. Is it really double? I don't really know. It's probably double. We get double the standard deduction. Weirdly, because everything is so expensive here, my babies were born in December. Mm-hmm. So my husband was like, ooh, we get the tax deduction for the entire year. And I was like, I can't believe this is something that we're even discussing.
Yeah. And that's what it comes down to, unfortunately.
So with your C-section, you got 5 days stay where you were genuinely taken care of. You were supported not just with services that are standard, right? Of, lactation consultants and nurses coming in. Did your obstetrician come check on you often, or are obstetricians like, do they come in to check on you, or do they just send, one of the midwives or one of their associates? He came in personally.
He came to see us. Yes.
Now with accessories. Okay. So like, let's say your breast pump or anything that you would need to take care of the babies. Does private or public insurance cover any of it? Or are you buying everything on Amazon like the rest of the world?
Ooh, to be honest, I didn't personally look into it. I did buy everything outright. Yeah, so I would go on Amazon and buy things. In the hospital, if you needed like things like nappies, pumps, bottles, they looked after all of that. Like you could have come with nothing and you would be cared for. But yes, you couldn't take those things home with you. But not sure, there's a possibility, but I didn't look into it. It was just too chaotic for me at that time. I should have done a lot of things prior to the twins arriving. I just didn't know what I was in for.
Listen, I think everybody handles pregnancy different, especially after infertility issues. We all handle it different. There's a lot of us, like I know for me, I was in denial. Like after not being pregnant for so long and not being able to get pregnant for so long, God's honest truth, did not probably take advantage of some of the services that were available to us only because I was so afraid to rock the boat. Like I was afraid to do anything. I was afraid like this pregnancy is never going to stick. So I don't want to look into it. When it comes to stuff here in the United States, like breast pumps are covered. And interestingly, I will tell you there's a weird loophole. And the loophole is that some insurance companies, private insurance companies, cover a breast pump per pregnancy and some cover a pump per live birth. So if you have twinnies, you'd get 2 pumps. If you had trippies, you'd get 3 pumps. So it's all about reading kind of that fine print of what your health insurance company offers.
That's amazing. Well, you had to have one up on us, didn't you?
Thank goodness. Thank goodness.
If there's any Aussie listeners, I definitely would say check in on that because it was just something I didn't do and it could be a possibility, I guess, depending on your private health insurer as well.
Yes. And now another thing that I want you to tell them about is your postnatal care.
Sure.
So once you delivered, what services were available to you? How did you get them and how long were they offered to you for?
Yeah, so obviously, I guess postnatal care starts in the hospital. So we had midwives every day with us. There were benefits and disadvantages to that because I felt like having so many different midwives like clocking in and out, you might have felt like you were getting on track with breastfeeding or a bit of a routine, and then someone would come in and tell you to do something completely different. So my husband and I quickly realized that we are going to be routine people. And prior to, as I mentioned before, prior to having the twinnies, we had hired a private midwife who was also a lactation and sleep consultant. And we had bought a package of hers. So she came the first week the twins were born, and then she came I think every few weeks, and then it turned into months for the whole first year of the twins' life. So she was great. She helped, she helped get us onto a routine, helped me with breastfeeding because they were the twins were born at 37 weeks. They were still a little bit immature. So it took a little while to, get breastfeeding going. Just like she was great in the sense that was like, you know, helped me work out what was best for our situation. Not many people go down that route, but I believe if I didn't have the private midwife, you could have still gone back to the same group you were seeing prenatal, and they would help you with all those things. Or you could go see maternal nurses, I believe, at several locations around where we live, and you take the baby, they weigh them, they do all those things. But because I did hire the private midwife, she did all that in home, and that was something that was quite important to me at that time. It did take me quite a while to feel comfortable to leave the house without my husband, so having her come to the house, it was just like so convenient.
Yeah.
In a time where I was feeling quite anxious.
It's an easier transition to have professional care. Here, if you want to have anything like that, it could cost, let me do the conversion of how much it could cost. And everybody's going to like lose their marbles when they hear what I'm going to say. Okay. So it would be about, for like here in my city, which we know is not reality, right? Everything is more expensive.
Yeah.
But you would pay for that same service, you would pay about 117 Australian dollars per hour for that care.
Right. Yes.
So that would be about what it was. And so, yes, you could buy a package. And so for those of you that don't want to do the math, it's about 75 American dollars is what it would be for an hour. You could get somebody for like maybe, I mean, you could do like a nanny for 31 Australian dollars, which are like $20, but they're not going to be a certified lactation person. They're not going to be a sleep person. Like they're just coming to be a warm body to give you extra hands. So, and you would still have to pay them per hour. And also if you are not in the like if you're in the public healthcare system, there are sometimes like breastfeeding support groups that you could go to that are at your hospital. And sometimes there's even a few around the country that I think it's the same thing by you. They're called baby cafes. So it's like they have them, it's a global network. So they do have those, and you can go, and that is a nonprofit, but you would have to like fingers crossed that you lived by one. It wasn't that, you know, they're X amount in so many square kilometers or whatever. Like you just have to find one. So it's not, we have no real postnatal standard care that isn't about just making sure that the babies are healthy, right? They go to their own doctor, and then we just make sure that we're being kind of put back together by follow up with our gynecologist or obstetrician. So that's kind of the same. So we do have that. Now, what about like emotional support and mental health? Is there any standard of care in Australia that's for prenatal or postnatal, specifically maternal mental health?
It, again, wasn't something that I explored. I was suffering with anxiety, but I didn't feel I was depressed, so I didn't explore it. But like, there were pamphlets and everything given to us. I know there are definitely service providers. I know it is pretty important in our healthcare system. Like postnatal is something that's often talked about. I can speak to like when I was going through infertility, they did have a lot of options out there. I do believe they do for postnatal, and I think a lot of those services are free. It just wasn't a path that I went down personally. But I believe you're given all that information when you leave the hospital. Like you're given a bag with like heaps of pamphlets and information books. And actually it's all coming back to me. Like you get a book and it has like all these helpline numbers, like just describes all the support you can get.
So
breastfeeding, everything.
It's, I know that your country is really on the forefront of maternal mental health. Like I've been seeing stuff about the importance of maternal mental health in your country for at least a decade. For us, it wasn't like a standard recognized thing. It was like, okay, it's there if you need it. If like in case of emergency, break glass kind of thing. It wasn't like, oh, you can check in with these people. We have a lot of nonprofit groups that are free within our country that are supported by independent funds that are run, like Postpartum Progress is one of them. So there are a few, but as far as our state and government goes, there's nothing that they do for us that's the standard of care. Riddle me this. When your babies were discharged from the hospital, how did they tell you that they should sleep? Did they say they need to be in separate beds? They could sleep with you. They could be in the same crib. Like, did they ever give you any sleeping recommendations or guidelines?
Oh, I can't recall if the midwives in the hospital did, but because I had my private midwife come out prior, she did give us some guidance on that. She did explain, we have the red nose here. Um,
Yes.
she explained to me like safe sleep guidelines, but Red Nose does advise, like, obviously twins in separate cots is the best option, safest option. But they also had guidelines on sleeping two babies in one cot, and we chose to do that. We didn't do a bassinet. We bought two cots on wheels. Biggest game changer of my life. It was all by accident, but wheels on cots is the way to go. We had two babies in the one cot. So that worked for us. Eventually, when they started showing signs of wriggling or their heads getting close to touch, we switched into two cots. I do believe in the hospital they did make mention of what to do. I just couldn't recall word for word what they said.
So for those of you that don't know what Red Nose is, if you go to rednose.org.au, it's a website that I have been visiting since I started Twiniversity.
Amazing. So you got
So,
okay, it's global.
yeah, it is. So we could
Ah,
see it. But the thing is we don't follow those same regulations.
right,
So the
right.
thing is every country makes their own
Has their own.
recommendations. And interestingly, when I first started Twiniversity, it was recommended that twins share a cot.
Mm-hmm.
So they would put them head to head so that if they
Yes.
rolled, they wouldn't roll near them. And that was
Yes,
recommended.
correct.
Now your recommendations have changed and that they want twinnies to sleep in independent cots. But the thing that I find fascinating is one of the sites that they reference that are saying like these are the statistics that lead to it are statistics from my country. And
Yes,
so
right.
but the funny part is about those statistics is that those studies that were done in my country, none of them were done with twins. They were only done with siblings. So your
Right.
country followed a recommendation by my country where my country didn't even do the right recommendations.
Oh my
So once
gosh.
again, don't come at me, bro. All of you that are listening, feel free to do all this homework yourself. Just go for it. Just literally, whenever you are interested in why a company is doing something, a country is doing something, if there is statistical analysis of kind of where they're coming up with this, it is usually available for you to look like quickly. And when I first started Twiniversity, I was really fascinated by like, why are we telling different countries to put our twinnies to sleep in different ways? It
Yeah.
was like, in South America, they were still co-bedding their twins. In the
Mm-hmm.
United States, it was like literally like, how could you do that? Oh, clutch my pearls.
Mm.
I can't believe that we're doing this. Like it was such a taboo thing. And you guys and the UK and predominantly like most of Europe were like, put your twinnies in the same cot, head to head. So if they roll, you're good. And then all of a sudden, the script just flipped. And then every time I went to say that, I was like, what's happening? Why did they change that? Like, and they cited the American Academy of Pediatrics. And I'm like,
Right.
guys, did you guys even read like what the American Academy of Pediatrics says? And by the way, I am not saying that your kid should be in one crib or two. Honestly, it's not my business. It is not Natalie Diaz's business. The only thing that I want for your twinnies, of course, is safety. And I just
Safety.
want to
Yeah.
make sure that they're safe and that you're happy and that it's a win-win-win because we know that we have enough guilt, we have enough stress. There is so much that goes on within a multiple birth delivery and pregnancy that I'm certainly do not want to add anything more to your plate. I'd like to take it off. But I do want to challenge you that everybody that's listening, no matter what country you're in, if there's something that in your gut just doesn't feel right, dig a little deeper and find out why. And so that's how kind of I got to be because when my twins were in the NICU 20 years ago, I was told when they go home to put them side by side in their crib that I had one child who had a really hard time regulating her heart rate. And so she said that there's, in the NICU, the nurse was like, listen, we put them in the same bassinet in the NICU
Yes.
because they are stronger together than they are apart. And there is a ton of neonatal research based on that your babies are stronger in the NICU, in the ICU. They're always going to be stronger together because they could regulate their heartbeat and body temperature off of each other because they're twinnies. And so it didn't make sense when all of a sudden, like my country was saying, but don't put them in the same bed when you get home. But I'm like,
Yeah.
but the research shows that they're better. The hospital just told me that they're better. And so if there's no universal, because there honestly, like Sinead, there really should be a worldwide standard of how our kids
Absolutely.
sleep. Either it's safe or not.
I know, they really should. I think a lot of things should be more universal, but they're not. And that's where I think a lot of the miscommunication and misinformation comes from, because you're reading these different studies and it might apply to a different country, not your own. And then you're like, but I'm hearing this, but I'm being told this. And yeah, there's just so much information out there and it's like not streamlined at all.
Forget about it being streamlined. It's opposing. There's like one country does this, the other country does this, and you're like, okay, who's right? Are they murdering their babies? Are we murdering? Like, what exactly is wrong? And I think that social media really brings this to like the front, because we get to see how the other half lives, right? For a very long time, you would only see it on a television show or a movie.
Speaking of that, actually, I just put a poll up on my Instagram stories asking which way twin parents slept their twins when they were newborns. And majority of the votes were either twins in the same bassinet or twins in the same cot, and then followed by 2 cots and 2 bassinets. Very equal. Like, yeah, I was quite surprised. I thought it was going to be like the winner was going to be 2 bassinets, but it was actually, it looked like a lot of people did. I don't want to preach which is right or wrong.
No,
and,
but what you're preaching is that people have an instinct, and their instinct is guiding them one way. And then our governments are telling us another way. And so we're having this kind of like internal battle of like, what do we do? Right? Because the thing is like, you and I, Sinead, do not have the first set of twins that have ever been born on this planet.
We definitely do not.
We're not having the last. So even from 20 years ago to 20 months ago, like thinking about, nothing really has changed. Nothing has changed. So it's not like we have, more flammable house paint, or like there's nothing big that changed that would require such a huge like difference to moms in the world. Sinead, I know I'm like, we're like in like our 19th hour. I feel so bad that I'm still talking to you.
Don't feel bad.
But I'm so happy when I see other countries taking care of their mamas. Because even if I'm not somebody that's like, we're doing it right and we're the best at everything and whatever. And there's definitely a mentality in my country sometimes that has that very country first pride. But I have a very like women first pride. And it doesn't matter if you're in my country, if you're literally on the opposite side of the world, it doesn't matter. You're going through the same sleepless nights. You're going through the same tumultuous pregnancy. You're going through the same, pick me kid when you have your 20s and they want their own independence. Like there's so many things that are exactly the same that happen to you, that are going to happen to me, that are going to happen to women all over this world. Yet the way that our countries treat us is where the big difference is. So it makes me sad that we don't get 18 weeks off with even minimum wage. And then, but I also know that there's going to be, by the way, this is like the most controversial podcast that I've ever taped in over 200 episodes. But the thing is, I try to stay away from what's happening in this country because I know that there's not much that I could personally do to change it. But that's so stupid of me to think that, because I really thought when I started Twiniversity that nobody was going to read that website. And now we reach upwards of 1.2 million people a week.
That's amazing.
And honestly, Sinead, I swear to you, I did not like, I'm going to start a business. Blah, 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 blah. No, nothing. My husband called this my hobby for years because I would put the babies down at 7 and then I would get on my computer and I would work till 2. And so you might say, oh, she's a workaholic. I knew I was on a soapbox because I needed that mom that was in the middle of nowhere that could find this website. I needed her to know that she wasn't by herself. And it was a very powerful moment for me in my life. It still is every single day. Every day I wake up, I don't wake up to have a better day for Natalie Diaz and my twins. I wake up to say, how can I help them? And the rest of the Twiniversity team does too. The whole and that's a very important part of being part of our Twiniversity team, which we're always hiring, by the way. So email us at community@twiniversity.com. But we want to make sure that we all know that there's something bigger than just our home. And if we could somehow find that we all have so much more in common than we do different, we could all live much better lives. And if we live better lives, in turn, our children will live better lives. In turn, their children would be better lives. So it's so ridiculous of me to say that I don't feel that there's something that I could do. Until we know what other people are going to do or what's even available outside of our own little four walls, we can never make any changes. So, no, I'm not running into politics at any time soon, but I am curious to know why our hospitals don't let us have a hot meal 24 hours a day postpartum. I have to literally tell people that if they deliver overnight, they should pack snacks because they're going to be extra hungry.
Yeah, it shouldn't be that way.
You have to bring your own food to the hospital because the kitchen in the hospital doesn't open till 6 a.m. when maybe you could get an oatmeal if you're lucky. So it's like it's a standard that I have to talk about in this class because I have moms that are like, I was so hungry, I wish somebody would have told me. And I am just like, hey, listen, worst comes to worst, you just brought some peanuts with you or some cashews or whatever, you eat them when you get home. But that's not standard. You're lucky if you got a turkey sandwich. That would be a good hospital if you got a turkey sandwich at 2 a.m.
That's not up to standard. It should be different. Things need to change.
Well, girl, it starts with us, right? And so
does.
I don't even, it's not even about me. I just really want better for my daughter. So just like you, right? So the thing is it's no longer, once you have kids, it's no longer about you. It's really about them. And how do we have them have a better experience? And so it's really just, once again, the only one I can control is myself, right? So I could teach my kids better. I could have them be prepared better. I could have my son, if he decides to have a family someday and my daughter decides to have a family someday, it's just going to be my job to help them be as comfortable as possible because my hospitals are not going to do it. Like they're just not. It's going to be me.
It starts with having these conversations though and spreading awareness, and hopefully one day it does turn around.
Oh, this was heavy. And the good news is that your social platform is so light and delicious and happy and cheery. And thank you for taking the misery out of Twinnies, because we all know that there are plenty social media influencers, as everybody is called, right? We all know that there is a way that we could spin our twin story to just put up the bad parts. And the way that you put the light on the joy of Twinnies and the happiness. But I think that's just your personality.
I like to think so. But yes, I never want to shadow that there are challenging times being a twin mom, but there are so many positive experiences and moments as a twin mom. And I think when you find out you're pregnant with twins, that anxiety sets in, that fear sets in, and you jump on forums and you jump on social media, and a lot of it is negative and a lot of it is scary. And you spoke about this earlier, there was a fear that the pregnancy wasn't going to stick. There was all these fears going on in my head. I didn't really actually get to enjoy my pregnancy. And then also the newborn stage, I was very fortunate. The twins didn't have any NICU or nursery time. They were, as soon as they were born, they were in my arms. So I did have a very positive experience from the start. And when we brought them home, and everyone's experience is different, I want to preface that, but it wasn't how people told us it was going to be. So I have dedicated my platform trying to alleviate some of that fear and showing the positive sides, but I also do show the true realities of being a twin mom, and as I said, how challenging it can be at times. But I just want people that when they're new moms, they find my account and they can actually see some positive content mixed in amongst
because
all
it is pretty,
truth.
it is pretty amazing. We got the golden ticket on Twinnies. And I'm going to tell you honestly, Sinead, this is going to sound crazy. It gets better every year. It really does. And in hindsight, is there anything that I would have done differently? Truthfully, no, because I didn't know better at the time. But my Twinnies are 20, and I tell my husband all the time, and I've said it before on this podcast, if they weren't my kids, I would be jealous of that family. I love my kids, but I love them now as peers. Yes, I still know that I have to parent them, and there's definitely mushy brain times that I'm like, I can't believe these kids did that. But at the same time, now I get to watch them grow, and now I get to enjoy all the effort that I put in. You hear things that you said to them when they were toddlers, when they were school age, you hear it come back as an adult, and you're just like, wow, they really heard that.
They soaked it in.
And you realize what a powerful position that we are in, because there is there is no politician in the world, not our president, not any country's leadership, period. There is nothing stronger than the influence a mom can make on her kids.
I love that. I really love that. That's
So
so true.
you are doing it. We are the presidents of our own household. So we will
Yes.
just continuously, I run somewhat of a dictatorship in my household. It's not really a democracy. That's not up for negotiation. It depends
Yeah.
on the day, but it's, I don't know, it's just something else. And I'm so glad that you allowed me to talk about this because I think it's really been weighing on me a lot. And I know that I know more about delivering in Australia, honestly, as I do about here. Like,
Yes.
I don't know why you guys have such great research that's available to my fingertips. And there's not a lot of countries that do a lot of maternal research, and you guys really do. So, on behalf of your tax dollars that are being spent for that research, I say thank you, Sinead. And many Americans say thank you because we're all benefiting from any research studies that anybody in the world does. Because once again, there's nothing different about having twinnies in New York City than in Nepal. It's literally, this is the way that it goes. It's just the stuff that's available to us. And that's it. That's really it. It's just the stuff. We still have to have them shoot out of our body, old school or new school. We still have to opt to breastfeed or formula feed. We still have to get bottles if we need them. There's a lot. We have so much more in common. And Sinead, seriously, thank you so, so, so much for playing with me today.
Thank you so much. It's been my absolute pleasure.
Oh, the pleasure is genuinely all mine. So absolutely not. And guys, if you want to follow Sinead and her wonderful twin journey, we're going to put all of the links in the show notes. So you could just click. So make sure you do right after you finish listening, go and check those notes and make sure that you click follow over by her. And same thing with us, like and subscribe, blah, blah, blah. And the reason why I keep preaching it is because the more that you like and the more you subscribe, the more that the social media gods decide to let us out of the barn. And the more people that we could reach is the more difference that we can make. So that is what you could do for us today. And I hope you enjoyed this podcast. And I hope you enjoy many, many more that we have up our sleeve this season. It's going to be hard to beat this one. I can't believe it. Well, thank you so much. And for all those listeners out there, you need anything from me, Sinead, anybody in between, slide into our DMs. We're just at Twiniversity everywhere. Or you could email us at community@twiniversity.com. But know that our goal is to support you the way that you need support. But if you don't let us know how you need support, we cannot support you. So continuously reach out to us and let us know how we could help you have a better life with your 20s. And until next time, guys, see you later, alligators. Thanks for listening.